I haven't been to an ophthalmologist for a while. Here you go, ma'am. I found your glasses.
Oh, how wonderful. What a clever detective you are. Thank you so much.
Look, I know you're in a hurry to get home, but could I ask you for just a moment longer?
Oh, no hurry, dear. I feel safer here with you anyway.
Thank you. I'll be finished real soon now. Could I have another look at that lens?
Yes, of course. Here it is.
What shall I do with it? How about I try it one more time? What would Nick... Well, that was... The image is terrible. Finally, now the text is clear. NYU students to follow in the footprints of conquistadors. Amazon expedition underway. NYU professor of archaeology Dr. Samuel Dickinson is leading an expedition into the Amazon rainforest. Their itinerary recreates the journeys of the Spanish explorers of the 16th and 17th centuries. While the party's goal is the last of the great Incan treasures, the fabled hoard of Tupac Amaru. Can the professor achieve what the conquistadors did not? Will he find the legendary city of Acacor, treasure vault of an entire empire, the once mighty Incas? The team, who has already left for Peru, consists mostly of NYU students. List of participants in Professor Dickinson's expedition. Samuel Dickinson, professor of pre-Columbian archaeology at NYU, expedition leader. Alice Dickinson, the professor's daughter, student. William Warren, assistant to the professor. Andrew Haig, student, team doctor. Henry Fairbanks, student, technician. Mark Chestham, student. Joel Tatum, student. John Rudolph, student. Alan Branford, student. Noel Roche, student. So all the victims were part of the expedition. Fairbanks, Haig, Chestham, Rudolph, and Tatum. Finally, we got ourselves a fact. There's something here about the aftermath, too. Tragedy in the jungle. Our university community has lost an outstanding colleague and teacher, professor of archaeology, Dr. Samuel Dickinson. His scientific and social achievements are writ large across the history of our university. He was last seen heading a scientific expedition to Peru to find the legendary Incan treasure vaults left behind after the conquistadors' invasion. In the course of the expedition, the professor, his daughter Alice, and fellow student Noel Roche all went missing. Roche's body was found later in the jungle. He had been killed by native Indians. Despite valiant attempts by the other members of the expedition, led by Professor Dickinson's assistant William Warren, Dickinson and his daughter were never found. In the face of the Indian threat and increasingly difficult weather conditions, the remaining party members chose to withdraw. According to Mr. Warren, the chances of finding the professor alive are virtually nil. We believe, though, that the professor and his students will live on in our university's history. Peace in their memory. Warren! He's the linchpin of this whole story. It's just him and Branford now. Now, are they both potential victims, or is one of them the murderer? Maybe they're in it together. Or maybe the murderer is someone not on the list. And where's the irrefutable proof that Haquero killed Fairbanks? Are there two murderers at work here? Anyway, let's copy the list of participants. Maybe I can get out of here finally. Let's see this list again. Must be a link between the expedition 20 years ago and the crimes now. Only thing this list connects is the victims with each other. Can we really explain the murders as a result of the events of the past? Why didn't Branford or Warren say anything about knowing the victims? That's fishy. What's stopping them from revealing information that could save their lives? Only if one or both of them were directly involved in the killings would it make sense to do so. We'll have to check their alibis again. Anyway, all the clues lead to Warren at the moment. Drugs, Hakiero, expeditions in the jungle? We must start from the expedition. That's where the fuse was lit. The drugs thing is probably incidental. Don't want to get too hung up on that. NYU students to follow NYU their itinerary while the professor will he find the once might the team will Mark Joel John Allen Noel so finally. Thank you very much, ma'am. I've got everything I need now.
May I go home then?
Certainly, but if you'll just bear with me a second. Federal Agent Nicole Bonnet, FBI. I need a patrol car to the library on East 84th. It's for an expert witness in a case I'm investigating. I'll need her driven home safely. Thank you. Okay, ma'am. A policeman will be along in 5 minutes to give you a ride home. Thank you very much for your time. You've been a tremendous help.
Not at all. It was quite exciting, actually. I'll have to close the reading room in a few minutes. I'm all alone here, you know.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I've always wanted to check out the gift shop here.
Ah, Agent Bonnet. Hear about that knife business again? It's getting a bit old now, don't you think?
Why didn't you say anything about the expedition?
They were tragic events. Best forgotten.
We'll start remembering because my serial killer is tied into them somehow.
Really? What an idea.
Yes, I also think that you hindered the investigation by withholding important information.
Well now, I can see you're here on business.
I'm always here on business. Don't you know the victims are all on a list?
Well, it's possible, I suppose.
It's possible, but you and Branford could be on that list. Aren't you afraid?
What good would fear do? Understand, I settled up with my conscience long ago.
When? When Fairbanks was killed? Or only after Tatum was?
You think it's so easy? And you, little girl, hiding behind an FBI badge. Do you think about all the people slaughtered somewhere in the cold and dark without your knowing?
Yes, and I hate it. I wake up mornings thinking that today someone else will die, and I can't stop it. Now it's even worse. I know who's gonna die.
Not all of them will.
Yeah?
Juan Alvarado, an archaeologist living in Cusco. He didn't join us until Peru.
Juan Alvarado? You keep in touch with him?
Not really.
Were there other people involved in the expedition?
Yes, Vaquero.
Go on.
Vaquero was a local grave robber, an amateur. He appeared when we were totally devastated and on the retreat, offering his help.
And?
And then he demanded an outrageous payment, and we parted ways with great ill will. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an important call to make. Now, if you'll excuse...
You're standing in front of where I need to be, asshole.
Mr. William Warren, direct.
Now, if you'll...
It's good we met. Are you waiting for Warren?
We're going out, although I'd prefer to go with you to the concert.
Well, maybe when I finish this case.
I can hardly wait.
Ew.
I found out a little more about the Peruvian expedition 20 years ago. Do you, keep in touch with Mr. Alvarado?
No, not for a very long time, but we used to be friends. Why is he of interest to you?
The murders are all occurring within a specific group of people, and Alvarado's part of it.
Yes. Yes, he is. Do you think he could be the murderer?
Well, I don't have any proof to that end.
Do you think then that it's a Koga Pachiros Indian curse?
No.
Neither do I, but if our murderer was on this expedition, and if it's neither Warren nor myself, then it must be Alvarado?
Who's to say it's neither one of you?
Why should I suspect a man who lives in Peru of murdering people in New York?
Alvarado was in town at the same time, of course.
What? In New York City? Are you sure?
He called me. I was frightened he was trying to track me down.
Do you know where he is now?
He left a message that he was returning home, back to Peru. I hope it's true.
We'll look into it. Do you have his address?
Well, he sent me a letter postmarked in Manhattan. Had a photo of his house in Cusco in it with the address and a note. I showed it to Warren this morning.
Could I see it, please?
Well, here's the thing. There was a bit of a mess in the museum this morning. They were cleaning the showpieces that hang from the ceiling, and I had to literally push my way through between them. It must have been squeezed out of my pocket then.
Right. I'll find it. Look, if anything suspicious happens, you call me straight away, okay? Please. Look. Forget about it.
Jesus, woman.
Ruth? Nicole.
Yes?
I need you to check South American flights out of the country in the last 5 days. Looking for a Juan Alvarado, archaeology professor, flying to Cusco, Peru.
Okay, I'll get right on it.
Thanks, Ruth. Mr. Brantford's waiting for you outside.
Thank you. I'll be leaving now. You're staying here?
This pavilion is such a magical place.
You sound just like Alan. But I'm glad. It's a good thing.
Creating something like that must require so much talent.
And 20 years of hard work.
And one day, Hakero arrived and wanted to destroy all this.
This again, eh? No, in the beginning he even seemed friendly.
And then, he wanted to destroy your reputation and you couldn't get rid of him. So he blackmailed you?
What makes you think that?
I found traces of a drug stash down there.
Such a dirtbag. He defiled everything with his dirty little hands.
So he came here to demand his blackmail money?
You know, during the expedition we found a couple of shells of insignificant value and some old Spanish coins. Back then we were young and stupid. We invited tragedy. When the rain started and we realized we wouldn't be able to find the professor, we just wanted to get home as fast as we could. And Wakero said that because of the diggings, we would have to negotiate with corrupt pen pushers for weeks.
He helped you smuggle items out?
Yes. Oh, they were objects of little significance, and I soon forgot about them.
Did he also smuggle drugs inside exhibition pieces?
No, never. He pushed me to, but I never allowed it.
Did he pressure the others too?
I thought that he murdered them to get at me.
Why didn't you inform the authorities?
What are you talking about? I spoke to your man Chaser about the whole thing.
Chaser, yes, of course. Did you find the legendary city in the end?
Akakor? Well, we thought so, back then. But we couldn't go back again. It all seems like a dream now.
Last thing, are you sure you don't want protection?
Thank you, no. This place is swarming with police. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an important call to make.
So do I. Shit.
Here, an antique house in Cusco, hence the dedication. Here.
Nicole?
Yeah, hi Ruth.
Alvarado left the country already. Hopped a flight to Peru.
That's great, thanks. Listen, is the chief there?
Not at the moment.
You know what? Book me 2 tickets on the next plane to Cusco, Peru. Visas for me and Nick, and a hotel.
Be cheaper if you share a room.
Leave me alone.
Does Nick know about all this?
Not yet. I'll call him now.
Okay.
Thanks, Ruth.
Please leave a message after the beep.
Nick, we're going to Peru with this serial killer thing. Call me or Ruth back ASAP. Don't let me down on this.
Okay, everything's arranged.
Thanks. Has Nick called in yet?
No.
Is the chief back?
Yes, he's in. So, you flying? You know what, Nicole? Dollars to donuts, Nick will be late for his flight.
Can't we just medicate him and wake him when he's needed?
Send him the address of some dusky cafe in Cusco. Maybe he'll drop by for a coffee.
Huh. Look, just make sure he gets everything he needs for the investigation.
Don't worry. I'll staple the notes to his head if I have to.
You working late again?
Yeah. I think I'll end up mummified here and put on display for future generations of secretaries.
I promise I'll dust you. See you soon anyway.
Yeah. Hey, don't forget the postcard.
I won't. See you, Ruthie.
Sorry.
Shall we? I've got a major update on the investigation.
I'm all ears.
I've established a few facts. All the victims were part of an academic expedition to the Amazon over 20 years ago. Professor Dickinson, his daughter, and another student named Noel Richet all tragically died during the expedition. Our friend Hakiero helped evacuate the survivors. He also helped them smuggle some minor artifacts out. Of the entire expedition, the only currently living survivors are Warren, Branford, and Alvarado, who is now an archaeology professor living in Cusco, Peru. All are potential victims, and all are potential killers.
Why?
Well, I don't have any real strong evidence yet, but all my leads come back to the expedition.
So something happened down there that 20 years later is causing our wannabe Quartermains to rip each other's guts out.
Looks that way. I just don't know what the something is. So I'm gonna fly down to Cusco and talk with this Alvarado character.
I can't authorize that. They won't let me. It's about 4 countries outside our jurisdiction.
Look, if he's not the murderer, he might open up to me. I've got a picture with a dedication he made for Branford.
Can I see it? Well, well.
So maybe I'll find out what their little rumble in the jungle was. But if Alvarado is the doer...
Then he had to have been up here for the last few weeks.
And so he was.
Shit, this is getting more and more iffy. Well, we can ask the Peruvian police to do the interrogation.
I've got the feeling I'll have to go and do it in person.
Forget about feelings. We're dealing in facts. Did you do the psychological portrait?
Yeah, I'm working on it. Our killer has a thing for middle-aged, physically fit males. He's of a similar class and income as his victims, except for Tatum. Not sure why he got hit. So, let's say he isn't an acquaintance. Then he's most likely in a position of public trust. Something he can use to get close to his targets. Policeman or priest, the usual candidates. Even someone like yourself, Chief, or our pal Branford. As for motivation, I reject the ritual aspect. It's a cool gag, but ultimately just handy window dressing. However, the antique gold coins left with the bodies? That's a clear attempt at communication. Or the whole thing could just be Warren stripping down to a loincloth and slaughtering his old buddies.
Warren in a loincloth? Nah.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of Warren, I wasn't aware he'd asked you for help, Chief.
Well, Nick was dealing with this case. He should have told you.
Warren admitted to me that they'd smuggled out some minor artifacts. Did he say anything like that to you?
No, he was very careful with his words. And anyway, it was only a brief chat on the phone.
Maybe the stuff they smuggled out wasn't so minor.
So they found some really big treasure down there. Someone got stiffed at the share-out. And this is a 20-year late reminder?
20 years is a good amount of time for a prison sentence.
So he did 20 because he was framed. Well, that's a revenge motive. But what was he framed for?
We won't know until I go down there.
You're not going anywhere yet, Bonnet. Such a trip has to be well planned.
There's no time for that. We hang around with this, and who knows how bad this is gonna get.
You won't save anyone like this.
Listen to me. Listen, you can laugh, but I see a jungle city in my dreams. And at the top of these massive stone steps is a sacrificial altar. And the murderer's there, and he's gonna turn around any second. And when he does, pow!
Oh, for crying out loud, she's giving me dreams now. Go home, sleep. I'm giving you 1 day off. Make the most of it.
Chief!
Don't chief me, just get out of here. Jesus Christ. Bonnets, I'm too busy right. All right.
Why isn't this working? This isn't a good idea.
Sorry.
I made a real ass of myself. What the hell am I doing? Chief will can me if I take off down there. Be the shortest career in FBI history. Let it. Damn, but it's good to get away from the city and the crime and all the everyday crap. It feels so fresh down here. I'll take a camera and act like a tourist. Might even fool someone. Where are my manners? Good morning, senor.
Buenos dias, señorita. Don Diego welcomes you. How was your journey?
Fine, thank you, although I've got this nagging headache.
It's the altitude. You'll soon get used to it.
That's good to hear. I was hoping you could call a taxi for me. I need to get downtown soon.
Great idea, but it's not good sightseeing on an empty stomach, señorita.
I'll be glad to eat here this evening, but I still have the airline food in my stomach.
Oh, hamburgers! Down here, miss, you will learn the joys of a full and rewarding appetite.
Sounds good, but I can't afford a whole new wardrobe right now.
Shame. Men like a fuller figure. I assure you, señorita.
Yeah, I noticed.
Ha ha! Eagle eye! So, about that headache. I have something for it here.
Tablets?
Oh no, miss. Coca leaves. Chewing them brings great relief from all sorts of pains. Don't be afraid to try them.
Well, maybe I will. Thank you.
For sure.
So what are the sights around here?
Oh, señorita. All depends on time. How much have you got? A month? A year?
Oh no, a few days at most.
Then you need a guide. I will arrange one for you. And in the meantime, how about a snack? Something to round out the figure. Are you going for a longer trip, miss?
Something like that. A friend who's been here before recommended I should try Juan Alvarado. That's a picture of his house. The address is on the back.
Well, I know him, of course. Respectable man, well-educated, incredible knowledge.
Sounds great. Could you tell me how to get there?
No, it's not great at all. Lately, he's been acting very odd. Doesn't want to see anybody. And for sure, not a white señorita. Not good, not good.
Well, now you've worried me, Don Diego. I was really counting on him.
No, don't say that. I have to think about this. Please, come back in a while.
Well, I can always try and reach him myself.
Just call.
Nice place, kinda antiquated and charming. Relaxed atmosphere. Ideal. Ruth has a great sixth sense. You can't deny it. It's worth asking for directions to Alvarez's home. It's easy to get lost on these twisting roads.